right. Here we go, everybody. Welcome to it. I just got done listening to Nuggets head coach Michael Malone on his post-game interview. What a win for the Denver Nuggets tonight in Brooklyn, New York. The Nuggets get the 144 to 139 victory over the Brooklyn Nets in their second straight overtime win on their 3-game road trip. They'll finish it up in Minnesota coming up on Friday. But wow, so much to get into here with this victory for your Denver Nuggets. Welcome to In the Paint on our Altitude digital platform. You can find us on our Twitter page at AltitudeSR, twitch.tv/AltitudeSR, and our Altitude Sports Radio YouTube channel. We will be live streaming on there as well. So let's get into it. Feel free to drop your comments in. Give me your thoughts on the game tonight. Man, does this win have me juiced as far as the feeling I had after the first two games. It just did not look good. But Nikola Jokic put on a just masterful performance tonight. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Joker, 41 minutes after playing 44 last night on a back-to-back, 9 of 16 shooting from the field. He was 11 of 13 from the free throw line, 18 rebounds, 16 assists, 29 points. He was a +8. My goodness, Nikola Jokic was absolutely spectacular tonight. And I tell you what, I know it's only 4 games in, but I don't see why Nikola Jokic isn't going to be the leading MVP candidate again this season. I mean, he's just playing absolutely that well. Let's get a couple of comments in here. This is from Wes. Let's go. Wish I could have seen the game, but I'm out of state. All good there, Wes. It was this was a great basketball game. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was entertaining throughout. Obviously, a bit of a rough start for the Nuggets. They were down 40 to 27 after the first quarter. I thought Jamal Murray got off to a really good start tonight. He was 3 of 5 shooting with 7 points about halfway through that first quarter. So, he was listed as probable for tonight's game, but he did tweak his ankle late in the game last night in Toronto. So it wasn't for sure that he was going to play tonight. But obviously he did, and he played, I thought, another really good game after his best game of the season last night. Something I thought was interesting. No Ben Simmons tonight for the Nets because the Nets were on the first game of a back-to-back. That's interesting. And I was just listening to Coach Malone in his post-game press conference, and he was talking about how Russell Westbrook came and sat with him on the plane from Toronto to New York. And he's like, hey, are you good to go back to back to your 17-year vet? He's like, oh yeah, I'm good to go. So it's like, wow, you've got Russell Westbrook, a 17-year vet, no problem with the back-to-back. Jamal Murray on a tweaked ankle, no problem with the back-to-back. And Ben Simmons is sitting out tonight because he doesn't play back-to-backs. I mean, that is yeesh. That, you think Michael Malone would tolerate that on this team? I don't think so, but got a lot of comments coming in. Wes is asking again, how was Russell Westbrook? He was phenomenal tonight. Russell Westbrook finished the game 5 of 12 shooting, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc. His first 2 threes as a Denver Nugget. Got to the free throw line 10 times, hit all 10 of them. 22 points for Russ, 5 assists and a steal. I mean, this was far and away Russell Westbrook's best game as a Denver Nugget. So he was absolutely phenomenal tonight. I thought he was running the floor really well, playing great defense, brought a lot of energy to this game tonight. This is why the Nuggets went and got Russell Westbrook. I almost said Russell Wilson, but this is why the Nuggets went and got a guy like Russell Westbrook for games like these. And I thought he did a really good job of bringing the energy to the team tonight. So as far as the game itself, that first quarter, it was not good for the Nuggets. In fact, Brooklyn shot 7 of 13 from deep in the first quarter and 70% from the field. So the defense got off to a horrendous start tonight for Denver. It's been their offense that has been struggling out of the gate to start the season, but Tonight it was the defense. And in that first quarter, the Nuggets shot 1 of 6 from beyond the arc and just 50% from the field. So not a great start for the Nuggets. That's been kind of a theme so far through the first 4 games of the year. They've just gotten off to really slow starts and kind of had to claw their way back into games like we saw tonight and last night in Toronto. In the second quarter, Malone did mix up the lineups a little bit tonight. It was Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, Dario Saric, Russell Westbrook, and Peyton Watson to start that second quarter. So he's definitely mixing up that second unit a little bit, which I suspected he would, because the second unit has been pretty dreadful to start the year. But I thought that unit worked pretty well. And that's where Russell Westbrook really had a good stretch. Again, brought energy. He was driving to the rim, getting to the free throw line. So it's like, man, if he can continue to play like this off the bench, that is going to be a massive boost for this Nuggets team. So at halftime, the Nuggets were down 72-63. The Nets shot 12 of 24 from deep in that first half. The Nuggets shoot 6 of 13. But then comes the third quarter. The Nuggets get off to a really good start. It was a 5-0 run right out of the gate by the Nuggets to get it to 72-68 at that point, and it's timeout Jordi Fernandez. Good to see Jordi. Good dude, former Nuggets assistant coach. He's, Malone's got quite a few coaches in his coaching tree that have done really well across the league getting head coaching positions. So just a fantastic start to that third quarter by Denver. Nikola Jokic gets his second triple-double of the season in that third quarter, his 132nd triple-double of his career. He's only 6 triple-doubles behind Magic Johnson for third most in NBA history. He's going to do that before probably the end of December, I would imagine, catch and pass the legendary Magic Johnson. So how cool is that, Nuggets fans? Nikola is just he's spectacular. So at the end of the third, Russell Westbrook hits a 3 and makes it 99-96. Nets on top at that point. But again, I thought the third quarter was great for the Nuggets. By the way, just a quick note for how well the bench did tonight. The Nuggets had 20 points scored by a bench player just 4 times all last year. Russ did it tonight. So that's a really, really good sign. People are asking, where's DMAC at? DMAC will actually be joining me here shortly. He's just wrapping up some of his stuff. And I should be getting Chris Dempsey on as well. So we'll break the game down with DMAC and Chris Dempsey when they get free and are able to hop on. Let's go to some more comments here. Daniel says, was really worried about the future of Malone. Sometimes it seems like he loses the trust of the players. I've seen these comments before. I don't ever remember thinking to myself that Malone had lost the team or the trust of players or anything like that. So I just thought it was, pretty interesting. There he is. What's up,
Sorry
Dean?
about that.
Good, man. All good.
Get a little snack there, Dan.
Oh, hey, man.
Sorry about that.
You needed some food after the just trembling at the end of that game there, D.
Yeah.
Wow. What an exciting game tonight there in Brooklyn. Great. And Russell Westbrook. Let's just start there. What a game for Russ. 22 points. Coach Malone, I don't know if you heard him after the game. He talked about sitting on the plane with Russ from their flight to Toronto to Brooklyn. And, he's like, hey, Russ, I know you're a 17-year vet. Are you good for these back-to-backs? He's like, oh, yeah, I'm good to go. No worries there. So,
yeah.
Wow. Russell Westbrook was phenomenal tonight.
Yeah, I was just texting with Hastings. He's on he just texted me like channel 20. I don't know what that means. So Scott's just on channel 20. I don't know. But we'll see if he calls. It'll be great to get Chris on too. I felt good about it. Listen, they don't have a chance to win this game. Oh, Scott's on the bus. Okay. What do you want me to tell Scott?
What does he want to do here? Does he want to pop on?
Nothing.
He's like, I'm tired.
Right. Done. They don't have a chance to win this game without Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Dan, how many games last year did the bench score 22 or more points?
I just gave that stat out.
What was it?
It was 4.
Wow.
So the Nuggets had 20
Wow.
points or more
Wow.
scored by a bench player just 4 times all of last season.
Wow.
BMAC. How about that stat?
That's pretty huge, Dan. I mean, that's pretty
I didn't realize
gargantuan.
the bench was that bad last year. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, 144 points and what they have in regulation, 125, something like that. They shot 48% from 3. But this game is a blowout, if not for Russell Westbrook. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. And he was terrible for the first 2 games at home. Terrible. So
Really
no, I'm
bad.
feeling good about it. Really good about it.
Yeah, I mean it's great to see. And you know, I've been saying to start the year, you don't need Russ to be like Superman, DMAC. He just needs to fill that kind of Bruce Brown type role. He's not as good a shooter as Bruce Brown, but I'll tell you what, he gets to the free throw line. He's an agitator. He plays great defense. He runs in transition. And I really think he just brings a fire and an energy to that locker room and he's going to hold this team accountable. Like, Malone's not going to have to be the bad guy as much this year with Russell Westbrook in that locker room. He's going to take over that role.
Yeah, I like where your head's at there, but he still has to play well. You know what I mean? Like,
of course.
You can have all the attitude in the world, but if he can't play, then it doesn't matter. And tonight he did. Remarkable start for the Nuggets. Hard to not compare it a little bit to the Avs, who went 0-4 and won 5 in a row, including a bunch of games on the road. So I think we just need to buckle up, Dan, for this roller coaster of the first 20 games, probably for both teams, including the Nuggets. But here's what's tricky. We're so quick to dismiss Jokic from the MVP conversation. He's making it really hard right off the bat, isn't he?
I just said he's before you came on, I was like, I mean, he's got to be, it's very early, but if he continues to play this way, he's got to be the front runner for MVP again. I mean, if you have a guy playing that well, how do you not give it to him? I mean, that was a masterful performance. And you know, I've said this for years, DMAC, and let me know what you think about this. So Joker goes off for 41 points against the Clippers, 40 against the Raptors. They go 1-1. I'm okay with that, but I've always said this team is at their best when Nikola Jokic doesn't have to put up those types of numbers as far as scoring the basketball. This team is at their best when he does what he did tonight, distributing the basketball. He had 16 assists, rebounds, 18. I mean, he still poured in 29 points, so it's not like he fell off a cliff or anything there. But this team is at their best when Nikola Jokic is not the primary scorer. And that's really kind of what we saw through the first 4 games. And I think that's why or the first 3 games, I should say. And I think that's why they struggled. But man, this is the type of game that Joker wants to play. And this is where the Nuggets are at their best, when he has these types of performances where he doesn't have to go off for 40 to 50 points. So
yeah,
loved it.
I agree. The contribution is amazing. The 2-man game is still strong. Jamal had, what would Jamal do? How would you assess Jamal's game there, Dan?
I thought he played fine. I mean, he was 8 of 19 shooting, 24 points. You know, he did pop up on the injury report today, DMAC. He twisted his ankle late in the game last night. And I mean, he was listed as probable, but he was listed, you know, so he did tweak an ankle. I thought he was fine. Really. I mean, he was good. He was good. It's not, you know, everybody's kind of waiting to see these like breakout games from Jamal Murray, but I am completely fine with how Jamal played tonight. That's if Jamal is consistent like he was tonight, just those types of performances, 24 points, I'll take that every night.
I'm looking at Strawther's number, pretty good off the bench, decent, right? Decent enough. Sarge at least scored, Dan. At least he scored a bucket and got a free throw. So
he had
I mean,
2
that's
points in the first game against the Thunder. So he wasn't scoreless entering, because we were talking about that on the show today. So I looked it up. He did score 2 points against the Thunder. Saric is the one for me right now. And again, this all comes with the caveat, DMAC, and I've been telling our listeners this. I'm really going to reserve a lot of judgment until around like Thanksgiving. You know, give this team 3 to 4 weeks before you can really sit there and look at this team and evaluate them and say, okay, who is this year's Nuggets team? So I will do that with Dario as well. I mean, Scott likes him, and I trust Scott's opinion. Like, he's been right about a lot of stuff. He wasn't super high on MPJ, and so far he's kind of been right about that, to be quite honest. He was, I mean, I'm telling you, his Joker's rookie year, Scott was like, this is going to be the best Denver Nugget of all time. I mean, this is when nobody knew about Nikola Jokic. He loves Saric. He calls him Jokic light. So I will be giving him the benefit of the doubt, but you don't want to run Joker into the ground like they had to last year. Saric has got to play better, doesn't he?
Yeah. Let's give him some time. I'm happy to do that. We'll see how it turns out. You can't jump to conclusions after 4 games. Listen, man, it didn't start great for the Nuggets, but they shot so much better. You know, it's funny. Bednar said, I don't know if you remember how the Avs started last year, but they played 3 games on the road to start the season. They won all 3. They had that crazy road winning streak last year. Yeah. And Bednar said how hey, I'm good to start on the road. Fine. You know, it's time to get together and sort of bond a little bit. I kind of think that's happening right now. You heard that story about Malone talking to Westbrook. Okay, fine. You know, they're staying in New York. They're not flying to Minnesota right away. They're staying there tonight and tomorrow night and flying to Minnesota Thursday morning. So, okay, Dan, you know, let's get to know each other a little bit. You know, a lot of new guys on this team. Probably a good opportunity in the Big Apple and see where they go and have some fun. I'm all for that. I really don't care that much about the Minnesota game. It's not make or break. I think building relationships here is kind of important, and it is harder to do at home. It is. You just have wives and kids and families. It's just different. You go on the road, that's it. You know, you just have each other. So, so far, so good, right? They put some money in the bank.
I said before this road trip, I was like, this is the best thing that could happen to this team at this point of the year is go on a, 5 or 6 day long East Coast road trip.
Right.
And so far that's proven right. And even if they lose one of these 2 games in overtime, I still think it was a really the schedule worked out. And it's really good to just get away sometimes. I mean, we've heard Broncos players talk about this, D, and you mentioned Bednar with the Avs too. I think this kind of just translates across sports in general. But was this just the perfect time of the season for this to happen? You get blown out at home 2 games in a row, just get away. And it looks like the Nuggets are playing. What was concerning for me in the first 2 games is it didn't look anything like the Nuggets in the Jokic era. Jamal looked slow. The whole team looked slow. Right. But these last 2 games have looked like the Denver Nuggets that we're accustomed to seeing. So that is encouraging. Jamal, he doesn't look that out of shape to me. I mean, he just played and Malone talked about that in the offseason, did he not? And in the first couple of games, he kind of did. But over these last 2 games, D-Mac, I don't think he looked out of shape or slow. I mean, he was able to move pretty well around guys tonight, I thought. So I think that was probably a little bit overblown. I think Jamal was just way more hurt at the end of last year than anybody realized, honestly. And I think he's feeling better now.
Our guy Scott Hastings talked about it. The international game isn't really suited for Jamal. It's probably why he found himself on the bench for Team Canada. It just ain't his thing. You know, guess what? The All-Star game isn't Jokic's thing. There's some styles of basketball that just aren't made for certain guys. But the only style that matters is NBA basketball. And frankly, the 2-man game with Jamal is still as strong as ever, as far as I can tell. 41 minutes tonight. 37. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Jokic. 37 for Jamal, 8 of 19 shooting. Not bad. You know, not incredible, but solid. Fine. And we discussed on the radio show today, would you take clutch over consistency?
That's a great question, man.
Yeah.
I love that question. It's a deep question.
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I've been thinking about this since you guys were talking about it on our show today. I think it depends on. Okay, here's how I would answer this, DMAC.
Yeah.
I'll take consistency in the regular season. I'll take clutch in the postseason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be consistent in the regular season. I mean, how often do you get a chance to be clutch in the regular season? Not a whole lot. In the playoffs, you get ample opportunities. But that's the beautiful thing about Joker, man. Like, he's clutch and he's consistent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's just that's what makes him so special. Now, Jamal is more clutch than consistent. I'll give you that. But Aaron Gordon's consistent. I think Christian Braun has been ultra consistent so far this season. In fact, I tweeted out, and I truly believe this. I think Christian Braun has been the Nuggets' second best player behind Joker through the first 4 games of the season. That's how well I think he's playing.
8 seconds to go in the game. You'd rather have the ball in AG's hand, Christian Braun's hand, Michael Porter Jr.'s hand, forget Jokic, or Jamal Murray's hands?
It's a toss-up between Joker and Jamal because they both done it.
Joker. Of course, Joker. Of course.
Okay.
We will always trust Joker to make the right play. Take him out. Jamal, MPJ, AG, Christian.
It's Jamal. I mean, it's not even close.
Right?
Not even close.
Right?
It's not even a question. Do you trust Michael Porter Jr. with the ball in his hands with 8 seconds to go?
I'd rather have it in Jamal's hands. We start with Jokic. You always start with the ball in Jokic's hands. Yeah. And you trust him because he's a genius IQ in basketball to make the right decision. So if he keeps it, he keeps it. Whoever he gives it to is probably the right decision. But I would just rather have, whenever he makes his mind up, it goes to Jamal next. That's it. And we go from there. In my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jamal has shown ample times, not only in last year's playoffs, he did it in the championship season in the playoffs. He did it in the bubble. Like, I think a lot of people just forget about the bubble and how good he was clutch wise in the bubble. But man, put the ball in Jamal's hands with 8 seconds to go, D, and I'm totally comfortable with that. All right. Just final thoughts here from the game tonight. Peyton Watson, he's been a little underwhelming to start the year. 20 minutes tonight. I mean, he shot the ball pretty well, 3 of 5, but just 7 points. Hasn't been as impactful as I would like. And kind of same with Julian Strawther in his 22 minutes, 3 of 6 from the field, 1 of 3 from beyond the arc.
Not bad.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I want Julian Strawther he needs to average, 12, 14 points a game. Does that sound doable in your eyes for Julian Strawther?
Hopefully. I'm looking at the numbers on the bench, though, Dan. 39 points off the bench. I mean, wow.
And they had 11 last night.
Yeah, man. I mean,
whatever it was.
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but how many nights last year, and I get it, the game went to overtime, but nobody in the bench played in overtime. So how many times in regulation last year did the bench score 29, 36, 39 or more points? I mean, seriously.
I can't imagine a whole lot. I mean, with the stat I read off earlier, with the bench, last year, 20 points or more only 4 times.
Right.
It couldn't have been much at all.
So you had, all right, let's think about that for a second. You had one of the most productive nights off the bench probably in the last couple of years for the Nuggets tonight.
Probably since
what do we
Bruce
think about
Brown
that?
Left. Yeah, probably since Bruce Brown left. Well, I think Russell Westbrook is this year's Bruce Brown. Just not as good of a shooter, although he did hit 2 of 2 from 3 tonight. And those were big threes, by the way. One of them was at the end of the third quarter to pull him within 3 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, those weren't, garbage time, nothing threes. Those were big threes from Russ tonight. Now, I've been on record saying I'd be okay if Russell Westbrook never took another 3 wearing a Denver Nuggets jersey ever again. I'd be okay with that. But I'll extend an olive branch. If you're wide open once or twice a game, DMAC, I'm okay with it. And that's what he did tonight. He doesn't need to be taking 6 3-pointers like we saw against the Thunder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But man, Russell Westbrook, he's going to drive you crazy. Everyone listening, there will be nights where he's going to drive you crazy. But then we're going to have nights like tonight where he shows his toughness. He got into a little scuffle there tonight or last night in Toronto. And then did you see D-Mac, Jamal and Dennis Schroeder
Yeah, what
getting into it a
was
little
that
bit?
friendly? It was funny how Marlowe said it. Did you hear how Marlowe said it? He goes, Canada against Germany.
Against Germany, yeah. You
And I'm
know,
thinking, like, what kind of conflicts has, I mean, World War II, I guess, but I mean, like,
I don't think it was friendly at first. And then I think they just kind of were jawing at each other
it
and they
was,
kind of just laughed it off. But it looked pretty
yeah,
intense there for a second. It
yeah,
did.
yeah. Well, don't forget, I mean, that's sort of a Lakers thing too, right? With Schroeder. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but and I don't know how much international play those guys have gone against each other. I don't think it was all that friendly in the beginning. I don't.
It didn't look
But
like it.
it looked okay. By the way, I'm looking at the comments. Goran from Serbia. It's so great to see you in the comments, Dan. How about that?
That is fantastic.
So fun to see
Greets
folks
from Serbia.
Yeah, we love it.
Welcome,
We love Serbia.
Goran. Yeah, what time is it in Serbia right now? It's got to be like.
Well, maybe Goran can. I don't know.
Goran, if you can write us, what time is it in Serbia? It's got to be like what, 11 in the morning there or
it's
something
probably
like that.
They're going for like a morning coffee. They're probably sloughing off whatever job they have.
That is fantastic, Goran.
You know,
welcome
one of the
to the
horses
show,
in the
man.
stable is getting, sort of his cud. I don't know.
Okay, D-Mac, I want to show you this comment here from Daniel.
Yeah.
It was looking like Malone's coaching was going to cost his team a win. Malone probably saved his job with this win. I got to tell you, and look, I have been critical of Michael Malone in the past for some of his rotations and certain things. I think I've been fair in that regard. But man, I tell you, D-Mac, it's like clockwork. Every year is when is Malone getting fired? And I just don't get it. Why would you? Nikola Jokic loves Michael Malone.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, I hope you understand. Like Nikola Jokic, if Michael Malone left, cheers. He would be pissed. I mean, Joker loves Malone, and Jamal does too. Yeah. So, God, the dude led him to a championship 18 months ago. Like, what are we doing here?
We're not doing it. Dan, the more that you do this, you'll learn about my pal Daniel Miller. And I love Daniel. I love Daniel. But his take is everybody's about to be fired. And I do love Daniel. I do love you, Daniel. But it's the same joke comment over and over and over again.
Yeah. I've seen the text line after my on-air shows. It's a lot of fire Bednar, fire Malone.
I get it.
Here's the question I would always ask people that say that. Okay, fine. You think you should be fired. Who are you going to bring in that's going to be better? Like, you have to be able to answer that question. And if you can't answer that question, you shouldn't be calling for somebody's job.
No. Let's see how things play out. Listen, what we know from last year, if you can win 60 plus games like the Nuggets, great. Or not like the Celtics, great.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I'd prefer not to be 7, 8, 9, 10. I would prefer not to be that. But Dan, if you can't win on the road, you don't deserve to win a championship. The end, period. So you can't be afraid of playing road games. So having home court advantage just is not that big of a deal to win a championship. Look where the Mavericks came. Now they lost to the Celtics. Okay, fine. But look where they were to get there. It's not that big of a deal. So would I love to win 60? Sure. Would it be great to have the number 1 seed? Sure. But if you want to win a championship, you cannot be afraid of being a deeper seed, and you just got to win games on the road. So what is that number? 47, 48? That's probably what you need to get to. And frankly,
teams can get to 50. I think they get to 50.
Fine.
I think that's all they need to. But I see what you're saying.
But like killing yourself, and it leads to disappointment, like the Nuggets lost to the Spurs in the second last game of the year last year. It's just like, hey, man, I'd love to have the number 1 seed. And maybe they win if they have the number 1 seed. But frankly, they had a double-digit lead over the Timberwolves in the second half, and that should have been good enough, and it wasn't.
They went 1-3 at home against the Timberwolves.
Exactly.
To your point.
3 games at
Plus
home.
3 games at home.
Yeah. So it just wasn't their year. They weren't good enough. And to me, when you get to they 5 games, they took care of the Lakers in the first round.
Mhm.
To me, you just need to have everything you need at the end of the year, and it doesn't matter if you have to win games on the road. So I do not care, Dan, if they're the 4th, 5th, or 6th seed. Does not matter to me this year. Just get to the playoffs and let's go.
Yep. I'm with you. And again, you talk about how exhausted and they grinded it out towards the end of the year to get the higher seed. What was it, the 2 seed? But again, like for me this year, the bench has got to play better. You want to not grind your guys down and have them exhausted come playoff time. Dario Saric has to be better.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
to
No
be
doubt
able
about it.
to spell Nikola Jokic. And I'm talking about him specifically
Yeah.
because you've got to. I'm not asking for Dario Saric to come in there and be baby Jokic. He's
Right.
just got to be able to tread water, keep the score within a couple of points of where it is when Joker left the floor. That's all I'm asking from him. You know, and again, it's early, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, like I said, until around Thanksgiving. Then I'll really start to kind of get an idea of like who these new guys are. What does this year's Denver Nuggets team look like? But if you want to keep Joker fresh, keep Jamal fresh, Julian Strother's got to really produce this year. Dario Saric has to be better, and that's how. And in my mind, DMAC, that's the quick fix of not gassing your starters and seeing what played out last year at the end of the playoffs.
By the way, Goran is chiming in. It's 4:18 in the morning in Serbia.
4:18. Oh, okay. They're not as far ahead as
What
I
is
thought
that?
they
So
were.
that would be 7 hours? I thought it would be more.
Or is it the reverse of that?
Oh, you think it's 4:18 in the afternoon?
No, well, no, he said good morning. He said good morning.
Right.
Wow.
So it's got to be.
London is 8 hours from Mountain Time.
That's not right. That can't be right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. That's Goran. You're lying. Wait a second. All right. Hold on.
Look, I'm so curious now.
Hey Siri, what time is it in Serbia right now? Hold on.
4:20 a.m. in Belgrade, Serbia.
What?
4:20. All right. So we're wrong. He's not lying.
I don't understand.
By the way, it's 4:20.
Nice.
Nice.
The show's almost over, DMAC. It's almost over.
Colorado joke right there.
Oh man, yeah. That's a Colorado joke for sure. All right, D. Any other thoughts before I let you go?
I think it's a really, really, really positive past couple days, and I think they needed it. I think it's just like, hey, we're okay. We can do this. I mean, I feel silly saying this, but if we're voting for MVP, Jokic wins again. Really nice to have Russell Westbrook join the team, Dan. Nice to see he's on board. Christian Brown, pretty solid. Pretty solid in that role overall through 4 games. Pretty consistent. And
I think Jamal he's been Murray, fantastic, DMAC.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't have a great scoring night tonight. But he was 3 of 7, hit 2 of his 3-point attempts, 12 points, played excellent defense. He did have a couple of bad fouls there at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But, he made up for it. I will say he has filled the role of KCP's role from last year way better than I was anticipating to start the year.
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy with what we've seen from Christian Brown to start the season.
All right. You can let me go and I'll
all right, buddy.
Finish the
do another podcast.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm going to bed.
You're going to bed.
After
you finish that wine, you're going to bed. All right. All right, D. We'll
Thank
see
you everybody
later.
for watching.
All right, man. There he goes. DMAC. Spitting the hot fire.
Just take me out.
On our yep. There he goes. There is DMAC. Yeah, I wish DMAC was still here for this comment, Pete. DMAC, is marijuana a part of your life? That is a great comment, because if for those of you who don't know what that reference is, DMAC famously asked Von Miller when he got busted for weed in his system and got suspended. He asked Von Miller at a press conference, Von, is marijuana a part of your life? That is an A+ comment from our guy Pete. That is absolutely fantastic stuff there, Pete. So yeah, let's get some more comments in here. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. I've said this before, but we're still going to be doing some of my post game shows on the air, but for the most part, we'll be just digital. So this is just kind of the way the world's going, and we're getting with the times, and we're happy to do it. DMAC and myself will be at every single home game for the Nuggets this year. We'll be getting locker room stuff, Coach Malone post game, and we will bring you excellent Nuggets coverage, because I can tell you that I've worked at altitude for 8.5 years now, and everybody there lives and breathes these teams. So, and I know you all do too. So we're happy to do that, and we'll just keep it going. All right, let's see here. Here's a comment from Andon. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. All we have to do is get to the playoffs. Who cares about home court? Let's make sure this year we keep our dudes fresh and healthy. So who else do we need on this team to help us get there? Yeah, Andon, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's kind of what DMAC and I were just talking about. The Nuggets don't need to get a top 3 seed to win a title. They don't. As long as they have Nikola Jokic, Jamal, MPJ, and AG fresh and healthy heading into the postseason, that's really all that I care about. And if they are, then that gives the team the best chance to win a championship, not having home court or a top 3 seed. Now, look, if they can get a top 3 seed, great. I mean, that's fine. But I just don't want to see what happened last year happen again this year, and I really don't place a lot of the blame on Michael Malone for running his guys in the ground, which he did, and he admitted at the end of last season that he did that. But I don't put the blame on Malone, because he was kind of forced to, right? I mean, the bench was awful last year. So it's like he didn't really have that much of a choice. Now, the counter argument to that would be, well, you didn't have to scratch and claw for the 2 seed. Well, that's what they did. And who knows, maybe that was a lesson learned from last season that Malone will implement this year. And I think he will, because he's talked about how he's really going to try and not have to do that. But if Russell Westbrook can play like he did tonight for, I don't know, 50, 55 games this season, have a game somewhat similar to what he did tonight, the bench will be just fine. Now, Julian Strawther is another guy I've talked about that needs to really have a bigger impact this year. So you ask who else on this team can help us get there? In my mind, other than Russ, and Dario Saric too, but Julian Strawther for me, because the bench so desperately needs shooters. They have to have guys with the ability to knock down wide open shots. And Julian Strawther is, in theory, is that guy. I mean, they drafted him to be that guy. He was an excellent shooter in college at Gonzaga. And you could see it. Like, you could see flashes from Julian Strawther. He's got a great shooting stroke. I mean, he can shoot the basketball. He's just kind of put it all together and really kind of get the speed of the game up. So awesome win for the Nuggets tonight. Do you feel a little bit better after the 0-2 start? I mean, and again, like I said in previous shows, I get it was only 2 games, and it's kind of exacerbated by it being the first 2 games of the season. It just didn't feel like the Nuggets basketball that we're accustomed to seeing during the Jokic era. So that was what was really concerning to me. And Russ played terrible the first 2 games. And so did Dario Saric. And really kind of everybody except Christian Braun and Joker, to be quite honest. But Jamal looks better. AG had a great game tonight. We're seeing those reverse dunks down low in the post on feeds from Joker like we're so accustomed to seeing. Didn't see a whole lot of that in the first 2 games. So what's encouraging to me is this looks like the Denver Nuggets in the Jokic era that we're used to seeing. So excellent win for the Nuggets tonight. They've got to be feeling much, much better inside that locker room. Again, they get the 144-139 overtime victory over the Nets tonight. And that is going to do it for the postgame show. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be back right here on Friday. The Nuggets will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And in fact, before we go, I want to look up what the Timberwolves did tonight, because I know Anthony Edwards and Luka were having a battle. Okay, so the Mavericks did win 120-114 in that one. Let's see here. Kyrie went for 35. Luka went for 24. And then Anthony Edwards had 37 for the Timberwolves tonight. So rematch of last year. But remember, this is going to be a little bit of a different Minnesota Timberwolves team than we saw in the playoffs last year. They don't have Karl Anthony Towns anymore. He was traded to the New York Knicks right before the start of the season for Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. So it is going to be a different looking Minnesota Timberwolves team than we saw last year, but still a very, very good team. And we'll see what the Nuggets can do coming up on Saturday night. That's going to do it for In the Paint. Thank you, everybody, for listening, all your comments. And like I said, we'll be back on Friday. Have a good night, everybody.